All right. Well, Harbin and I had a great conversation going about the officiating in the Tennessee Alabama game last night. And something's going on with my MacBook that we record on. It keeps disconnecting me from the internet. Last week we talked about my Biden internet. I don't think it's my internet after some research. So I got to figure out what's going on, why this keeps disconnecting. But uh, to sum up what we were talking about, the officiating in the Tennessee Alabama game was kind of all over the place. Benefited Tennessee in some areas, benefited Alabama in some areas, and we were kind of hoping Day Day would be here because I'm guessing he's not here because he's back watching the tape to see how many calls were missed total for both teams last night. Mainly probably just Tennessee, but
The biggest officiating blunder, in my opinion, was the fact that we didn't get two free throws starting the game for that jacket that Nate Oates had on.
he was wearing the old Wimp Sanderson jacket,
Yeah, it's ugly.
and their announcer their announcer was wearing the plaid jacket last night, the radio announcer. So if y'all haven't seen, it was great, and we'll get into our reactions here in a minute. Um, the Alabama Crimson Tide Sports Network or whatever it's called has a camera set up at the table, and it basically zooms in on their radio team all night. And when Meshack hit that three to put Tennessee up 63-62 and then proceeds to steal the ball at midcourt, give it to Ziegler. Ziegler feeds Adu bucket and one. You could see their souls, the life leave their bodies. Now, I watched a little bit past this because you can pull it up on YouTube. These guys and of course, they're homers. I expect this. They fist bump each other after Alabama does something good every time. But it was so great. It was so great when Meshack hits the three. It's like their engineer was sitting next to him. He goes, oh. And then the color commentator, when Adu gets the and one, he hits the table. It was great. I don't know if you've seen it, Harbin. It was so awesome.
I did see that. It was good.
It was amazing. So let's just get right into this, Harbin. I'm joined by Harbin. I'm Negative Niece. Big Montana will join us shortly. He's finishing up a family dinner, so he'll be joining us here shortly. So pretty big week for the Vols last week, don't you think, Harbin? Just a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. I mean, it was a decent week. Kind of ho hum. To be 14-11. Um, nothing really crazy to talk about. Just what we're supposed to do. We took care of business. I would like to congratulate you and retroactively myself. Everybody give a round of applause. The reverse jinx worked. The reverse jinx worked. And we were so sly about it that we fooled Big Montana.
Yeah, he didn't.
Big
He didn't
Montana
even
tagged us
see.
in a post. Big Montana tagged us in a post after the Alabama game saying that Niece and I had no faith in the boys. Um, I can't 100% speak for Nathan Niece here, but I was using the reverse jinx. If you can't see me on the video, I'm tapping my forehead because I have a big brain. I said that we would beat Auburn and lose to Alabama in a close one. The reason being was I knew there was 0% chance that that damn washed up coach down in Auburn had a chance of winning in Thompson Bowling. And I knew we were going to have a little bit more of a battle on our hands in Tuscaloosa. But in reality, I knew Tennessee was going to win. I knew the under was going to hit, and I just wanted to use my powers for the better and complete the reverse jinx. So everybody that's listening, you're welcome.
So I have it on exclusive authority, not authority. I have exclusive insider knowledge that Coach Barnes listened to the podcast last week and he heard our picks and he played that video for the team last week. And they didn't need motivation against Auburn. That was at home, big game, protect your home court. But he showed them the video of mine and your pick for the Alabama game. So it
Good.
worked. That was why I did it. I wanted every piece of negative footage, every piece of negative news clippings, whatever they could give him. I wanted the team to have it. So, in the words of the Joker, it was all part of the plan.
It was never about the money. It's about sending a message.
Yes.
That performance was awesome. But it was very similar to the Auburn game, which we'll get into that one too, because we have a lot to talk about in that game as
I
well.
tell you what, let's start. Let's go chronological order here. Let's start with Auburn. Wednesday night, Tennessee beats Auburn 92-84. Bruce Pearl back in Thompson Bowling. I don't know how many times he's been back since he left us or was forced to leave us or whatever, but huge crowd on hand, Harbin. I don't know if you saw this. 22,547. That's over capacity. Second game in a row we've been over capacity. But Tennessee, what are you doing there, Harbin?
I'm just messing around.
I thought something was going on with my internet again.
Don't you worry about me.
So Tennessee, huge win at home against the Auburn Tigers. I don't know if you saw Bruce after the game, but he looked almost despondent in his post-game presser because they scored 84 points and still lost. Dalton Connect in the second half did Dalton Connect things and absolutely took over the game. Nobody for Auburn could guard him. Nobody could stop the guy. He ends up with 39 points, 5 of 8 from 3-point range, 12 of 21 from the field, 10 of 12 at the free throw line. But let's not forget these two. Zakai Ziegler, 17 points, 9 assists. Jonas Adu, 14 points, 7 rebounds. Big nights from those two guys. So, huge win for Tennessee at home against Auburn. What do you think, Harbin?
The biggest takeaway that I have is we beat the number 14 team in the country by 8 points, and our two fifth-year starting guard and forward duo combined for 4 points. That's the biggest takeaway that I have, in my opinion. And there was a point that I think we got down to 8. It may have been 6 or 7, but I believe it was 8.
It was 8.
When I was like, we're going to have to do something or we're going to lose this ball game. And in my head, I didn't say it out loud. I was like, Dalton Connect's going to have to take over. And by God, that's what he did. He outscored the Auburn Tigers 25-21 in the final 12 minutes. Which I said this as a knee-jerk reaction. I've put some more thought into it, and I can't come up with a better one. That is the single best single-player performance in a basketball game that I've ever seen live in person. When we got it to him, ISO on the wing, and he waved off a Waka on the screen with number 4. I can't think of his name for Auburn guarding him. And he took 2 dribbles, pull up, smack it in his face. Next time down the court, we go ISO again. He hesitates on the 3, drives by a tomahawk. And what killed me was in the moment, on the 3rd possession, Awaka came up for a screen, and we end up getting Awaka the ball, and he turns it over. Like, get your big ass out of the way. Like, let that man do dirty work. But you get on the left block and get completely out of the way. And if he misses, you get a damn rebound. Just get out of his way. Which I'm nitpicking at that point. But directly before that, the first probably 7 or 8 minutes of the second half, that officiating made my eyes bleed. Like, I literally had to get up and go to the bathroom at one point because I got so irritated at it. It was the biggest ticky-tack bullshit fouls called on both sides. Neither neither team could really get a rhythm going because if you got within 6 inches of touching somebody's jersey, they were calling something. And it was ridiculous. And for the last probably like 8 or 9 minutes of the game, they really let them play. They kind of swallowed their whistles, which I appreciated. Um, but that was a huge game. It was a resilient win. I'll call it that. And Dalton Connect continues to give me hope that we can put a good run together because we finally have that guy that can take over a ball game.
So you were at the game, Harbin.
Correct.
And what was it like in the arena when this started happening for Connect? Like when he got the ball, because we could see it on TV, you could kind of hear the oohs and the ahs, but what was it like in the arena when Tennessee would basically give him the ball, the four other players would go to the other side of the court? What was it like in there?
Oh, it was buzzing. One of my biggest critiques of Thompson Bowling Arena is that there's moments where that place is silent. It's not. It's for the most part, it's not sustainably loud, but when it gets loud, it gets extremely loud. Um, that first play when he waved the guy off, you kind of hear like the anticipation of the crowd, like ooh, you know. And when he hit that three, it got really loud. And then we forced a stop, come back down, and he has a dunk, and the damn roof came off that place. Like there was peaks in that second half that was probably top 3 loudest I've ever heard it in there. Very seriously.
I heard somebody say the only other the loudest other game they've been to in Thompson Bowling was the 2019 Kentucky game when they were ranked. I think they were 4th and we were 7th, or they were 3rd and we were 6th, something like that. That was the game. Grant Williams threw the alley oop to Bowden from about halfway between the half court line and the 3-point line.
Rack attack.
The rack attack from Iron Eagle, great announcer, who will be calling the Final Four this year, by the way. No more Jim Nance. Sad. But I was curious what it was like. Cruz was there, and he said that was the loudest he had ever heard the arena in games that he had been to. I think the loudest I'd ever heard, of course, I wasn't at that game the other night, was that 2019 Kentucky game. I mean, that place was, and that was a 20-point win. That place was so electric all day long. And I think when Bowden dunked that ball on that alley oop, that I almost ran down into the, because our seats were right above the tunnel behind the Kentucky bench. I almost jumped down into the tunnel accidentally. I was so fired up. But Big Montana's joined us here. What's going on, Big Montana?
What's up, guys? How are y'all doing?
We're great. So we were just talking about, we're going to start with the Auburn game.
Yeah.
How were you feeling Wednesday night after the Auburn win?
And that was a big time win. But as soon as you win that game, you know what's right behind it. And so it's that time of year when you don't get to celebrate that much. It's time to go back to work literally the next morning. But that's March basketball. I thought that Tennessee played great in that game. I really enjoyed seeing Dalton Connect do what he did what he did. Just, I mean, man, he wasn't hitting the rim in that game, bro. It was the last 12 minutes of that game. I rewatched so many clips, and I'm like, bet your life that ball hit the rim. Nobody would do it. Like, it was so pure. His two-handed slam up the middle, just, man, he was just white boy wasted. He was just all over the place. And, you know, whenever they double teamed him and triple teamed him, somebody else stepped up. So it was really nice. I mean, Auburn's a great basketball team. I mean, I think that's a team that's going to make the Sweet 16, if not go further. I know we talk about Bruce in the text thread and say all this. I think Bruce is a great coach. I think he had a good game plan for Tennessee. And, you know, to be honest with you, if Dalton Connect hadn't gone off, Pearl had the best game plan for UT. But you know what? He did go off. So get over it.
Too bad. That was one thing. That was one thing I saw, and Reagan sent this, but I saw others saying it too. Well, if y'all didn't have that white boy, y'all wouldn't be as good, or y'all wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
So what? We have him. Too bad. The Bulls didn't win anything when they didn't have Jordan. When they had him, they won. So what?
Part of it.
It's too bad. You don't have him. We do.
If my uncle did not have testicles, he would be my aunt.
That's right. 100%.
Well,
I mean,
well, today that could be anybody.
You never know. You never know.
I'm not putting too much stock into that because that was just Auburn fans coping.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, we've all been there. You know, you've been really mad during a game. And they were just trying to find ways to make themselves feel better. I'm gonna hit you with a stat that's not gonna make Auburn fans feel better. Hope Reagan's not listening, or
She's probably not.
yeah, if you are, tough shit. Auburn's men's basketball program has one quad win this year.
Quad what?
Quad what?
So,
You didn't say quad one. You said quad win.
Yeah, it was cute though.
That was pretty funny.
I don't like how y'all are attacking me. Quad one win. They split with Alabama. That is the only top 50 matchup that they have won this year. So if you think that they're going to make a run, what?
I was just saying that's why they're going to be a 4 or 5 seed.
Yeah, and I mean that's fine. But if you think they're going to make a run, they better figure out how to beat somebody that's worth a damn. So,
Harbin, say quad one win 3 times fast.
No, you don't tell me what to do.
Fair enough.
Harbin,
fair enough.
What did you think of my gambling video I sent you today?
That is one of the better videos that I've ever seen. I actually have there's some guys at work. We have kind of a gambling group chat, and I immediately copied that video and sent it in there.
So it was Andy. I had to unfollow that dude. Is he still posting a bunch of BS on Twitter all the time?
Oh, did you lose your money because you betted on the wrong team? That poor baby. Maybe you should learn to bet on the right team, you dumb motherfucker.
So is that like, did he post that over the weekend or something?
Somebody was talking about losing money on the Alabama game, and he made that video, and I watched it, and I immediately thought of Harb, and I was like, anytime Harb sends a bad beat or something like that, that's going to be my rebuttal always, and it's going to make him feel better. It's going to pick him up out of the dumps and forget about losing his mortgage or car payment, and he's just going to smile, and he's going to know that somebody loves him.
I think I unfollowed that guy after he was driving down the interstate cussing somebody out going 70 miles an hour, and I don't think he was even buckled up. I'm not sure what was going on. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't follow this.
Are we attacking a man for doing 70 on the interstate?
Not that.
I thought this is America.
It is America. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, then.
You can even cross the border illegally.
Harb, Nice don't drive 70. He don't go over 60 anywhere.
No, I go 70.
I remember one year we was going to the golf trip, and my car that consists of Brett Landry and Caleb Underwood, we got behind. We stopped twice. Hell, we was probably 45 minutes behind the pack, and we was barreling down the interstate, and we passed up Nice going about 67 in the slow lane on the interstate. We still beat him.
Wrong.
Nice will get you there safe. I'll give him that.
I'm working on that fuel mileage. It's like a NASCAR race. You got to make it to the end of the stage.
Saving his tires.
If you care about miles per gallon, you ought to buy a Civic.
So Tennessee and Alabama, biggest game of the day yesterday. There was actually a lot of big games yesterday. Kansas and Baylor, South Carolina and Florida, Tennessee and Alabama was on there. Let's see, Creighton and Marquette. If you were a college basketball fan and were like me, I mean, it's kind of in Knoxville. It was a little rainy. It was a little wet. It dried out as the day went on, but I basically just sat in the house all day and watched basketball. And got some chores done around the house. It was my first Saturday off in months from the youth basketball circuit, so that was nice. But the main dish, the main appetizer, whatever you want to call it, was Tennessee at Alabama, sold out Coleman Coliseum, Bama celebrities everywhere. Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer, Justin Thomas, Reese Davis. I mean, they brought out everybody. It's like us bringing in Peyton Manning, Josh Heupel, Philip Fulmer. Let's see, who else could we bring? Grant Williams. Grant Williams was at the Auburn game Wednesday, so about the same as us. But Tennessee goes down there, does what they're supposed to do. They kind of made me look good, even though I did pick Alabama to win a tight one. But I think it was last Sunday I went on the Hoop Southbound podcast, and they asked what I wanted to see from Tennessee, and I said I wanted to see Tennessee go down to Tuscaloosa, act like the veteran program, act like the championship program they want to be and believe that they are, and go down there and win a game when things may not go your way. And that's exactly what they did last night. They trailed, they made championship plays, they did what they were supposed to do, and they found a way to win a big game that keeps them on track for the SEC title. Harbin has his hand raised for those just listening. Do you have a question?
I do. When we were talking about that reverse jinx, was that the first time we tried to record and your internet shut out, or was that on this recording?
I think it was on this one.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I can't go back and look until we end this session. So,
okay, well,
I think it was, though. I think we're good.
All right. Well, if it wasn't, and you can cut out one of them if you want to, I just, round of applause for Nice and I. This was so good of a job that we confused Montana. He didn't even know the truth.
Dark. I was in the dark.
Bumbarooski. We hit Alabama with the reverse jinx. Like I said earlier, that chicken chip ball coach for Auburn knew he couldn't get a win in Thompson-Boling, so I didn't feel bad picking a win against him. But I knew he was going to have a tough matchup, and I wanted bulletin board material for Barnes and the boys, and two, I know it's going to be tough. So, like the odds of me going 2-0 in 1 week are low. I am a gambler. The odds of that are low. So, for those of you listening, you're welcome. And to Montana, you got trolled very hard.
It happens to the rest of us.
However, congratulations to you for going 2-0 on the week.
I did.
Yeah.
I can't. I've said it before, and it's been said by Inky Johnson. This is Tennessee, and we take a back seat to nobody. So anytime we're playing anybody from the state of Alabama, I'm not picking Tennessee to lose, because I have to have that mindset when I wake up in the morning that, hey, you're a Tennessean, a man of God, a United States, citizen, a patriot, and we're not going to act like that. So, and I understand that you guys were playing with me, but it's okay. We got the dubs, and that's all that counts.
Harbin, a rebuttal.
Do what?
That's a good looking hat you got on, by the way, Bone.
Thank you. My mother made it for me.
Yeah, looks good. Looks good.
Right.
I have no rebuttal because the Vols went 2-0, and what I say either way. So, but I did play a small 10th percentage into that, though.
So, Harbin, I'll start with you. You were at a retreat, we'll say, this weekend in a cabin in Gatlinburg.
Hearts on fire.
Cherokee.
Sorry, not Gatlinburg.
With his Uncle Greg in the cabin in Gatlinburg.
So, you all are watching the game. What's the atmosphere like in this cabin in Cherokee? Like this is a huge game. This is a huge game.
So let me backtrack a little bit. The night before, we went over to the casino, obviously, and half the crew went home in a reasonable hour. And then the other half, which was me and the bachelor and one or two others, we stayed out a little later than we should have. So we essentially took a nap, and then we played golf at 11 a.m.
Oh.
and a few of us enjoyed ourselves too much, so we decided to grill out instead of going to get dinner. And there was a couple naps involved, but there was still some. It was still intense in this cabin. So all 9 of us, we pulled up chairs and sat on the couch and planned accordingly. We'll put it that way. We were fired up for the Vols. The speakers got turned off. The light in the kitchen got turned off. This basketball game was front and center for attention. And I just want to let you know that all 9 of us gave our all for Tennessee.
Good. I wouldn't expect anything less.
I just want to let you know that. We even had one non-Tennessee fan, which is my roommate, which we've kind of converted him into a Tennessee fan, but he was even fired up a little bit because who don't hate Alabama?
Everybody hates Alabama.
Who don't hate Alabama? So.
Even Auburn fans hate Alabama.
Oh, yeah. That's the one thing we have in common.
It's the only thing.
And they hate Georgia, too.
Yeah, they hate Georgia, too.
Yeah.
We have more in common with Auburn than we think, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But, yeah, that was so I'll tell you why we won. You want to know the real reason, Harbin?
I know.
Big Montana knows. Big Montana knows.
I told
it
him
wasn't.
Tell me why, Nathan.
It wasn't Santiago Vescovi with 4 steals. It wasn't the big 3 by Jemime Shack.
What?
It wasn't Dalton Connect drawing a double team.
What?
It wasn't Jonas Adu and his and one.
What?
It was a rallies in.
It was.
And a rally dip, I think, too.
Yeah.
It ain't so.
So we were down, what was it, bowling? 6,
8.
5, 6, 8, something like I can't remember. And I gotta go get his in. I gotta put his in. Rallies in.
I spit out.
Turned on a dime. It turned on a dime.
I spit out my Copenhagen and then put in another pinch of Copenhagen. So like all the bad juju was gone. He had the Zen 3 going, and it just turned around. All of a sudden, Meshack hit that 3. The steal.
Well, this was about 8 minutes and something to go in the game. So I was able to keep it in the whole game, Harbin. I know that'll be a shock to you. The whole rest of the game, it stayed in. I was not taking that thing out. And if you all know me, you know that I really struggle with keeping those things in very long. I kept it in it was a good hour.
He put it in his mouth and he held it there.
You had polio by the end of the damn
game. He put it in his mouth and he held it there for 60 minutes.
I did. What?
Yeah, gave his all for Tennessee.
He did.
Hey, I will do anything for Tennessee to win.
That's right.
Hey, a good lip pillow is good for an 8-0 run.
But so what was your all's keys to the win? I'll start with Big Montana. What was your key to the win against Bama last night?
First half was just hanging on by whatever you had, and what Tennessee had was Gainey. He got some comments made about him after the game, and I'm just here to tell you, boys, Gainey kept us in that game in the first half. He had some beautiful shots, a couple of nice little layups. I don't know how many points he had, but he was a difference maker whenever our big men were on the bench and our offense was struggling. So say what you will. A comment was made about him in the first half by me, said that he looked like a lesbian WNBA player or Sam Cassell.
I lost it when you called him Sam Cassell.
But listen, he heard it, and he's like, you know what? Screw Big Montana. I'm going to the rack. And he did.
A buddy of mine that will not be named, who does not watch, he watches very little college basketball. Gainey come out on the court, and he said, "Is that Tracy Chapman?" And I about shit a brick. It was funny.
That's hilarious. Anyway.
Does he have a fast car?
He better.
But, you know, to rebuttal everyone after the Auburn game, if you didn't have Connect, you wouldn't have beat us. Well, you know what? That was the exact opposite of what Auburn was. Tennessee, everybody came out and contributed in that game. Meshack, his three, and then that steal back to Ziegler with Adu coming up, making the shot in the and one was probably the play sequences of the game. Loved it. Of course, Connect comes back in, and he still has a great game. I mean, 90% of college basketball players would love to have what do you have, 15 points? You know, that's a good night. But Ziegler, he hit shots when he had to hit shots. The only thing that I can think of about that game that really just, and Nice and I both talked about it Saturday night, our free throws, man. Like Ziegler missing those 2 free throws with 7 seconds left. Like, it didn't matter really, but we got to hit free throws, man. Like, that's how you win ball games in March. That worries me. But everything else, man, this team is it. They are built to win. They're built to play as a team. If our big men can hang on and stay out of foul trouble, and Dalton Connect can get his 20, there's not too many people that are going to beat us.
I mean, we were right on our season average for free throws, 72.4%. But they needed to go like 24 or 29 last night, not 21 or 29. Harbin, what's your thoughts about the big win last night? Like, what was something that stood out to you, key to the game? I don't know. What did you think?
I guess this is a good and bad thing. We let Alabama dictate the flow of the game, and we played their game for most of the game. And for a good amount of that, it backfired on us, and we still found a way to win, which that makes me feel extremely good about last night. We didn't dictate the flow, really. I mean, we did for probably the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I was about to say, in the first half, Bama was playing to our style.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it kind of switched the last 4 or 5 minutes of the first half.
But then the next 15 to 20 minutes, we played their game. And, I mean, hell, we shot 43s. We shot 3 more than they did. You know, it didn't feel like that, but we did. Damn, Zakai Ziegler shot 14 threes by himself.
Yeah.
Don't love that. Just to be honest with you, don't love it. But Ziegler had a good game. Which it's funny because when you look at the box score for us, Zakai Ziegler 5 for 18 from the floor, Dalton Connect 5 for 14, Vescovi and James both 3 of 7, Adu 3 of 6, Jordan Gainey 3 of 9, Toby Awaka 0 for 1, Meshack 3 of 4. You look at those numbers with zero context, you're like, we got our ass beat.
Yep.
I mean, seriously. Shots weren't falling. Which the free throws weren't bad. If you take away Ziegler's back-to-back misses when it didn't matter, we went 21 to 27. I mean, that's really.
Well, in the first half, they were 10 of 12 from the line, too.
It's not horrid. I mean, Gainey went 5 of 6. Ziegler, if you knock those 2 out, he went 4 for 4, which he went 4 for 6. Connect went 2 for 4. He still frustrates me on that because it's not an effort thing. It's a mental block because he puts in the work. But it's like, dude, like you can drill a 30-footer with somebody in your face. Make a damn 14-footer with nobody on you. Like
he needs to cover his face with one hand and start shooting them like this, just flat-footed.
But I agree with what you said, Bowling. I like your point. Despite the box score, Gainey played absolutely awesome in the first half. Yeah. On the box score, he went 2 for 9 on field goals, 0 for 6 from 3, only 14 minutes. If you look at those, you're like, God, he played awful. But that dude, like for a good 6 or 7 minutes, the ball was flowing through his hands, and he made the right play every time he had it.
He made one bonehead play in the second half. He got either like a rebound or a loose ball, and he just took it up the court, coast to coast. And it was like on a possession that Tennessee needed to score, and he was not the guy that you want to do in this. Ziegler, fine. But Gainey was he was not him. And he went up and just got, he missed the shot. He got blocked or whatever. Literally 3 seconds later, Barnes takes him out. And I don't know if he got back in the game the rest of the night.
He didn't play much.
The overall MVP though, which I don't think I'm alone in this, was definitely Jamal Mashak.
Yeah.
He had Sears locked up in prison, in hell, whatever you want to use. He had him locked up. Made some really good plays on offense. There was like a minute stretch where he got bullied on offense and defense, but that was the only knock I had on him. I would give him an A+ for his performance. When he hit a 3 to put us up 2, and then he literally ran like a free safety and stole it, threw it to Ziegler. This is play of the game, so I know you've seen it. Ziegler to Adu and one, sucked the life out of that crowd. That's when I knew we were going to win that ball game. And it is really cool. Connect had 13, which ain't awful. But that's definitely an off game for him. Which he had a lot of defensive attention, and I thought he did a really good job of distributing the ball, getting it to the open guy. But when we have multiple guys step up like they did when he doesn't have a spectacular game, that coupled with his ability to take over a game gives me a lot more hope than I have in recent years that we can actually put together a deep run this year.
I'll tell you another guy that's going to fall into the stat line, but he was very important in that game last night, was Santiago Vescovi. I think he had 4 or 5 nice moving screens where he was basically the guinea pig and just got demolished 4 times. He had a few steals and a few assists in key moments too. So even though he does not always contribute with points, he played a hell of a ball game last night.
So one thing that stood out to me, and then we'll move on to what we've got coming up. I thought Tennessee had an advantage down low in the paint. It didn't play out like that. Points in the paint, Tennessee had 22, Alabama had 28. And maybe Alabama did a pretty good job, I assume, of shutting us down. Plus, we got in foul trouble. Adu and Awaka both were in foul trouble. Estrella had to come in and play some key minutes for us. Held his own. Wasn't asked to do much, but eat up time and not get us in trouble. He managed to do both. So that was a good minutes from Estrella last night. Let's see. He played. Where is he?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. I felt like he played more than that, but it felt like forever when those 2 guys were out. But then we went small, which was interesting. But that surprised me. The post play down low kind of surprised me. And y'all were talking about the threes earlier. We did shoot a ton of threes, 40 of them, like you said. But we also hit 12, which is about 3 above our average for a game. So it kind of goes back to that system philosophy. The more you shoot, the more chances you got to make them. Maybe. I don't know that Tennessee necessarily wants to get into a 3-point shooting contest, but it's like, I don't know which one of you said it. Just didn't feel like we shot that many threes, but we did. I mean, 14 from Ziegler. I didn't realize it till after the game that he had shot that many 3-pointers.
By the way, speaking of Ziegler, this is going back to the Auburn game. What a tale of 2 halves for that young man.
Yeah.
I ain't dogging him because I'm about to praise him, but he played really bad in that first half. And then he hit that 3 pretty much right at the buzzer, right before halftime. And then he hit a 3 the first possession of the second half. And after that, he played lights out.
Yeah.
He played incredible in that second half. So shout out to him for dwelling on his bad performance in the first half.
He had 3 or 4 turnovers in the first half too, just bonehead stuff.
And Barnes, after the game, pretty much didn't put anything on him. He just he basically said our spacing was bad, and that caused his turnover. I don't know, without really taking a deep dive into it, but it just looked like he was trying to force things early on. But the last, Harbin, 22 minutes of the game, he was outstanding.
20 minutes and 8 seconds.
Change. Yeah. Well, he had that assist to Gainey in the corner.
Correct.
And that kind of.
That was exactly when you and Davey were dogging him in the group chat.
We were.
And he drove in, he made a great pass, and either Gainey or Meshack made a corner three. And that was kind of the kickstart of him turning the corner and having an A+ second half of the game.
It was like, what was he doing? Was more mine. I wasn't really necessarily dogging him. I was just like, what is he doing? Like, what's going on out here? Because it just was so out of character for him.
How are we feeling about Josiah Jordan-James right now? I felt like he had a good game against Alabama too.
I love Triple J and Vescovy. They do things that the common eye doesn't see. But last night, Triple J did things, and Vescovy too, that the common eye saw.
Hey, the best way I can put Triple J is he's like one of your best friends that gives you a headache every once in a while. He's not always going to be on time for the function, but he is always going to answer the phone when you call. 100%. Because, I mean, in that Auburn game, he had 2 points. But I mean, he impacted the game in other ways. And then the Bama game, it didn't feel like he did much, but hell, he had 11 points and 13 rebounds.
Double. Yeah.
That is what you need out of a fifth-year guy in a game like that.
Josiah Jordan-James is kind of like shocks on a pickup truck. When they're not there, you notice. But when they are there, you don't notice. It's very important.
See, but championship teams have guys like those two on their team.
Yeah.
They have guys that they're going to step up. Like Vescovy may step up and hit for 16 points one night here coming up.
We talked about that too. We were talking about how, you thought Vescovy, he should shoot 10 threes a game. I mean, he's a sharpshooter. That's what he's there to do, and play defense. I think he needs to get at least 10 shots up a game. Because he has a lot of looks, and he passes them up.
Yeah, I think Triple J and Vescovy have kind of embraced that facilitator, mentor, coach type role where they're not. I think those two, I don't know them personally, obviously, but I would be willing to bet that those two could care less how many points they score every night, and as long as Tennessee finds a way to win. But
yeah,
I wish Vescovy, maybe not 10. I mean, he shot 7 last night. Him and James each shot 7, had 7 field goal attempts. Between 7 and 10, that's plenty of shots for those two, especially when you got a volume shooter like Connect on the floor. I mean, he's going to he's taking a bunch of their shots away, which is a good thing. I've said it all year long. Connect is going to take a lot of pressure off of those guys. They don't have to carry the load anymore. They don't have to carry the cross anymore. They can go out there and shoot 7 times and it's fine. All right. So we beat Alabama. We beat Auburn. We beat Alabama. We're in the driver's seat. I've said it all year. We've said it all year, or the past few weeks. Tennessee still controls their own destiny, and they still do. So we've got another huge week. We thought last week was huge. This week is even bigger now. South Carolina Gamecocks, Colonial Life Center. Sandstorm will be blaring, probably at an all-time high. If that song can't get any more annoying than it is, it'll probably be just as annoying this week. And then we host the Kentucky Wildcats, Thompson Bowling Arena, next Saturday. So here's a scenario, and I'll put this on the screen for those watching on YouTube. Here's the standings. Tennessee is, as we've stated, first place. You've got South Carolina right behind us at 12-4. So essentially the game on Wednesday night is for the SEC title, but it really means I guess it means a lot for both, but you could look at it this way. South Carolina has to win for any chance of them to win the SEC by themselves by themselves, but any chance of them to win the SEC, they need to win Wednesday night. If Tennessee wins Wednesday night, they will be the number 1 seed, guaranteed in the SEC tournament, and guarantees them at least a share of the SEC title. Depending on whatever else happens with everybody else. I know Bama's sitting there at 12-4. They've got Florida this week. Auburn's sitting there at 11-5. So is Kentucky. So you could play it out to where you have 5 teams finish at 13-5. Like if Tennessee lost twice this week and South Carolina beat them, and then they lose on Saturday to whoever they play, and then Alabama goes 1-1, Auburn goes 2-0, and Kentucky goes 2-0, you'll have 5 SEC champions. And that's what goes back to what Harbin was talking about last week. They would all get a banner for that, which is crazy.
Yay.
But yeah, I don't get that. But Tennessee, it's simple for Tennessee. If they win Wednesday, they clinch the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament. They clinch a share of the SEC title. And depending on what everybody else does, South Carolina loses on Saturday to whoever they play, and Tennessee loses. If South Carolina loses, we clinch outright. Unless Alabama goes 2-0. But I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen. But the simple thing is Tennessee needs to win Wednesday. And then if they want to be the sole champion, they win Saturday against Kentucky. So my question to you all is South Carolina on Wednesday night. This would be Tennessee's, I guess, quote unquote, second straight SEC championship game in a row. And then if you look at Saturday, that's another one. I mean, they could essentially cut down the nets Saturday in Thompson Bowling Arena if they win Wednesday night. Do we do it? I'll start with Harbin. I started with Big Montana last week. What does Tennessee do this week? Do they go to South Carolina and win? Do they gag and choke and come back home and win on Saturday? Like, what happens here?
Well, thing is, when we played South Carolina the first time, we had a very off game. We only scored 59 at home. They took advantage of it, and their defense is great. I'm not taking anything away from them. But they walked into a place that not many people walk into and got a win, and they were predicted to come in DFL in the SEC. It's an incredible story out of this team, it really is. And we're riding extremely high. We're coming off wins, the Alabama and Auburn, 2 of our biggest competitors for the crown. Now we got our 3rd one. It'd be really impressive to go 3 out of 3. It really would. But I just don't see it out of this crew, man. I haven't seen enough out of these Tennessee Volunteers. I just haven't. So I'm gonna predict a loss in Columbia. Hand up, y'all are gonna give me hell for that. I don't want to see it. I was down there when Hendon Hooker tore his ACL and we got beat by 30, and I heard Sandstorm 4,000 times. It's an incredible story. South Carolina's coach, I can't name his name, but that's on me. That's not on him. He's probably going to win Coach of the Year. Yeah, we're going to lose that game, but then we're going to just beat the brakes off of Kentucky. It's nothing new at this point, really. We call it a rivalry to make them feel good, but we're going to beat the hell out of them, and I guess we'll share the SEC title with 4 teams just because we can't beat South Carolina.
We would at least share it with South Carolina if what you say happens.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm predicting 1-1 again this week.
Big Montana, what do we do?
I think Tennessee wins by 30 in South Carolina. I honestly, I'm telling you, I think they're going to leave no doubts. I think the game's going to be over at halftime. I'm not buying into South Carolina at all. Congrats. Don't care about your chicken shit program. It's over with. South Carolina, you're always going to be a bottom tier program in every sport in the SEC. It is what it is. Eat shit. Tennessee wins by a huge number in South Carolina. Dub, mark it up, Sharpie. The Kentucky game, it is what it is, boys. It's always a big game. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to show up. We split this series all the time, but it is at home, and it's for a championship. It's for a banner. It's to cut the nets, get the Warner ladders out, get the scissors. Let's put a piece of twine in our pocket, take it back to the locker room. I think Tennessee wins both games. I think the Kentucky game is very close, within 5 points. I think they're pissed off and wanting some revenge. Coach Calipari's a great coach. He's going to be ready. They're going to be ready. But we've always joked about Rick Barnes in March and what's on the table and what's there, and just reach up and grasp the ring, the championship ring. I want to see him do it. I think he does.
I think the Vols go 2-0 this week. I'm not going to give them any bulletin board material. They don't need it anymore. I was looking at, I'll put it on the screen for those listening. I mean, you look at South Carolina, they're a solid team. I think, looking at their bracketology, they're going to be anywhere from a 5 to a 6 seed from what I'm seeing. Thing that stood out to me was a couple things. When you look at them compared to Tennessee, they don't score as much as Tennessee. They're about 8 points short of what Tennessee scores a game, but they give up about as many points as Tennessee gives up a game. So something's got to give there, because Tennessee scores 80 a game. South Carolina's giving up 65 a game, a little over 65 a game. But one thing that stood out to me was, it's two things really. South Carolina's strength of schedule is 88. So not awful, but not great. And Ken Palm's got this thing. It's basically your luck rating. And Tennessee's luck rating right now is, let's see, where is it here? I lost it. Number 265. So that means they've been kind of unlucky when you look at in the grand scheme of things. There's like 300 and something teams in the NCAA. South Carolina is number 2 in the country in their luck rating. They've had some things bounce their way, which that happens. Good to get some wins. They've had to have some breaks go their way. But when you look at it on paper, Tennessee's just a flat out better basketball team. They beat Tennessee in Knoxville. Congrats to them. Sometimes you just tip your hat. They just beat us. We got sucked into their tempo, to their game flow. I don't think Tennessee lets it happen again. This team is, I kept saying it going into the Bama game, show us what you're made of, and they did. And so I have no reason now to think that they won't do it. I'll be disappointed if they don't go down to Columbia and win. I'm not saying like Big Montana, they're going to win by 30. Probably a close back and forth game, but I think Tennessee is
30.
I think Tennessee's 10, 15 points better than them when they're playing their best basketball. Not saying we win by 15, but I think Tennessee's that much better. And the programs are in different places. They're kind of up and coming. We're the standard bearer in the SEC right now. So I want to see Tennessee go down there, take care of business. Win the game.
What?
Come back to Knoxville.
What?
Senior night.
What?
White jerseys where they wear the cream.
Hope not.
Cream jerseys.
What?
Maybe.
Strip Vols.
What?
Sold out TBA.
What?
22,000 plus.
What?
Day Vol upper deck.
What?
Complaining about the refs.
What?
Tennessee wins.
What?
We cut down the nets.
What?
And we turn them sideways. And you get the rest of the picture.
And can I get a hell yeah?
Oh, hell yeah. What? No, I think Tennessee goes. I think Tennessee goes 2-0 this week, guys, and we get the 1 seed. We win the SEC title outright, and it's one more check mark off of the goals we have in front of us, and then we get ready, get rested up, play the following Friday in Nashville, in the SEC tournament. So that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I was looking at Kentucky's numbers just really quickly before we move on, and they haven't really changed much since we played them a few weeks ago now. I mean, they're still number 20 in the net. They're 18 in Ken Palm. They're still pretty good offensively, number 7 in the country, and they're still pretty bad defensively, number 96 in the country. I mean, they're giving up a ton of points every week right now. I mean, it's between 90 and 100 most every game now. So
to Arkansas.
To Arkansas, who's not good. I mean, they're not good. I mean, they gave up a ton of points to Georgia. I mean, you kind of expected it against Alabama last week, but I mean, they gave up 100 to Arkansas this weekend. So I think they are just better than these teams, and they should go down there and win. And I'm calling a 2-0 week. Tennessee cuts down the nets in Thompson Bowling next Saturday. What? Really quickly, I wanted to flash this up there. Tennessee's resume as far as NCAA tournament goes. We've now got 2 wins over Bama, who's number 7, I think, in the net now, without looking off the top of my head. We got a win over Auburn, Illinois, Kentucky, Florida, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin's really hit a rough patch. I think they've lost 7 out of 9. Not sure what's going on there, and you can see the losses. Texas A&M has really kind of stumbled as of late, but still got some good wins according to the net against South Carolina, Mississippi State, or losses, sorry, Kansas, North Carolina, and Purdue. So last I read this afternoon, some of the bracketology has Tennessee as a 1 seed now. Now, Lenardi doesn't. And I'm not sure what CBS has posted yet, but some others I follow they're starting to move Tennessee to that 1 line. So I don't know what your all's thoughts are, but I think if Tennessee keeps winning, is it going to be hard? Is it not going to be hard for the NCAA not to put Tennessee as a 1 seed if they win out? I mean, I know Arizona.
I don't know how you can.
Arizona's got, I think they're 7-3 in quad 1 games, but Tennessee would be at 8-5 if they win 2 games this week. I mean, so you're going to compare Arizona and Tennessee? I think Tennessee gets the edge there. And I'm not trying to say it because I'm a Tennessee fan. I just looking at it objectively, Tennessee's better than Arizona.
Arizona's strength of schedule versus our strength of schedule is kind of ridiculous when you think about it.
I heard this on another UT podcast the other day, and they said what's going to hurt UT with getting that quad, or that not quad 1, but the number 1 seed is going to be geography. With Arizona being out west, they're going to want Arizona to be that last 1 seed out there.
But see, I know you and I talked about that last night, and I thought a little bit about that. Like, they can still put them out west as a 2 seed, though. That's what I don't understand about that argument. I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't know either. If Tennessee played at the gates of hell, we'd have 20,000 people down there to watch them.
Well, here's my thing: if you make UConn, Tennessee, Purdue, and Houston the 1 seeds, why don't you throw Houston out west? I'm not saying they're in the West. I mean, that's still very middle America, but I mean,
I'm just thoroughly ready to see us be a 2 seed in the tournament. Like I'm not getting my hopes up. Even if we win the SEC regular season and then win the SEC tournament, I'm still waiting on us to be a 2 seed.
I'm trying to see. Let's see. The regional sites this year are Boston, the Boston Garden, TD Garden. I call it Boston Garden.
Good.
That's the East region. South region's in Dallas, American Airlines Center. Midwest region's in Detroit at Little Caesars Arena where the Pistons play. Rest in peace, Palace of Auburn Hills. And the West region is in Los Angeles at the Crypto.com Arena, formerly the Staples Center. So, I mean, Midwest, you would think, the current top 4 seeds projected would be probably Houston, or sorry,
Purdue.
Probably Purdue. And then you got the South region in Dallas would be Houston. East region in Boston would be UConn. And the West region would be Arizona. So if Tennessee slipped in to that 1 seed, you would think they would probably be shipped off to LA, I would assume.
Yep.
Because they're not going to put them in Boston or Dallas or Detroit over Purdue, Houston, or UConn.
What is Houston's record? Lost many.
Houston is 26-3. They're number 1 in KenPom, number 1 in the net ranking.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
I know they were elite. I thought UConn was number 1 in the net.
UConn is number 4 in the net and number 2 in KenPom. Tennessee's 5-5 in both. You've got Arizona at 4 in KenPom and 3 in the net. You've got Purdue at 3 in KenPom and 2 in the net. And then you've got UConn at 2 in KenPom and 4 in the net. So they're everybody's all over the place except for Houston, who's 1-1. They're number 1 in both. So I think Houston's probably the best team in the country. And then you have Purdue. But then I think after that, you could make a case for Tennessee, Arizona.
See, I disagree with you on that. I think Tennessee's better than Purdue right now in March. Which that game that we played them in November, that could have went either way. That officiating was horse shit. I'm not saying that because we lost, but with 2 teams as physical as we are and they called it as soft as they did, it was a free throw battle. But in my opinion, the 2 best teams in the country are Houston and UConn. And then you can wrap up Tennessee, Purdue. I guess you can throw Arizona in there, but I'm not a huge believer in Arizona. Personal opinion. Hell, I think Marquette's better than Arizona. That might be a hot take, but you can throw a few teams together for like that 3rd spot. But everything's gonna work out the way it should. I'm not getting extremely wrapped up whether we get a 1 or a 2. Because hell, a lot of the bracketologies I've seen, the 2 seeds had an easier path than the 1. So
it just depends on, I said it on that Hoop Southbound. I said it'd be nice to be the 1, but I'm not going to put a lot of stock into it because if you're a 2 seed, it just depends on who you got in those first 2 or 3 rounds. You could have some pretty easy matchups as a 2 seed as well.
I saw one projection that had us as a 1 seed, and our round of 32 matchup was the winner of Florida Atlantic and Texas, and it made me want to vomit. It made me want to absolutely vomit.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was like, no, thank you.
I'm trying to find Arizona's strength of schedule. So, according to TeamRankings.com, Tennessee has the number 4 strength of schedule. Not surprisingly, Purdue's 1, Alabama 2, Houston 3. Here it says Arizona's number 7. That kind of surprises me.
They must have front loaded because the Pac-12 is weak.
Yeah, I think they played. Says they've been as high as 1 and low, besides where they're at now, 4. So they've dropped here recently. It seems like quite a bit.
Yeah, it's them and Washington State really. And Oregon's decent. I know off the top of my head, UCLA's trash. USC's not good. I ain't gonna go into the whole conference, but off the top of my head, I think the Pac-12's only got 3 tournament teams.
I think isn't it what Arizona, Washington State, and Oregon, maybe.
That's
Is
the
that
only
right?
three I can think of because I know Oregon has single-digit losses. I'm 92% sure on
BYU.
that. BYU's Big 12.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they're Big 12 now.
Who keeps up with that crap?
Not many.
Not me.
Let's see. As of 4 days ago, they have Arizona projected in. Oregon is projected in. Colorado is included in the 68 team field on 4 different sites, but one is a first 4 game, or sorry, is first 4 out on 6 other sites. Utah's in the field according to 2 experts, and one of the first 4 out and 5 other sites. So they've got a lot of fringe teams, it seems like. Colorado and Utah being 2 of them, maybe the only 2. Washington State safely into the field, Arizona and Oregon, it seems like. So not Pac-12 is not going out with a bang, that's for sure. All right, so I guess we're putting a halt on the hater and losers for a while. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. So we're gonna do. We did a top 5 last week. Our favorite Toby Keith songs. I can't remember who it was recommended that we do our top 5 favorite wrestlers. So fire away, Harbin. I think it was your idea, wasn't it, or is it Big Montana?
It was Bowling's idea, but I went last week, so I don't care to go
You're
first.
You're going to go first this week, and make it fast.
All right. Mine is gonna be a little bit different than y'all's because I grew up in a little bit different era. But honorable mention for me, because I kind of saw like the waning part of his career, would be Shawn Michaels. Big HBK fan growing up. He has probably the greatest match of all time against Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. Well, really back-to-back WrestleManias. So Shawn Michaels will be my honorable mention. Coming in at number 5 is Randy Orton. That dude is the man. He's probably in the best shape of his life in 2024. And he started in like 02. RKO out of nowhere. I mean, when I was growing up, kids were getting suspended for doing that shit. Just incredible part of my childhood. Let's see here. At number 4, just because I didn't get to see him grow up, or I didn't see him growing up much in his prime, but he was my dad's favorite. I'm gonna go with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. He still continues to, we'll say, run his mouth today. I think he's just an ornery old man that has CTE. But as my dog, he is the greatest trash talker of all time. To be the man, you gotta beat the man. So, and then number 3, I'm probably gonna go Undertaker right here.
Good choice.
When I was a small child, I was legitimately scared of this human being. And if you look at who is blacklisted from the WWE these days, the streak is still technically alive. So, Undertaker at 3. And number 2 on this list is my namesake. I'm gonna go with Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
What?
I don't remember what my name was originally supposed to be. This is 100% a true story. I was born at 3:00 on the dot on the 16th of June. My dad pulled an audible. He looked at my mother and said, "Honey, you know I love you, right?" And she said, "What in the hell are you about to do?" And long story short, I was named after Stone Austin. And I have a picture of myself as a newborn in a onesie with Austin 316 on it to prove it. He goes without saying. I'm not going to go into that, save time. Number 1, just for people my age, it's my man John Cena, for sure. That's my dog. He always has been, always will be. He's went Hollywood on us, which some of the greats do so. The Rock has done it. Just the absolute man. I mean, for a 7 to 12-year-old growing up in that era, I mean, you really couldn't beat it. He was the closest thing to Superman when I was growing up, so he's my number one. There's my list.
Good list. I like it.
Yeah.
Big Montana, what do you got?
My honorable mention is The Rock at 6. Love The Rock. He was a little bit, I mean, he was definitely in my era and all that. Just was more so of a heel, I guess. I guess I kind of rooted for the good guys more growing up. But I did appreciate what The Rock did for wrestling. Number 5, growing up, I was a WCW kid for a long time. And number 5 was Diamond Dallas Page. Love DDP. Speaking of getting suspended from school, Niece, I know you have a similar story. I do as well. Just if you weren't just giving somebody the diamond cutter, you weren't popular in the lunchroom. Number 4. Number 4, I guess I have Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hulk, and Hulk Hogan. Think he really put this generation of wrestling on the map. NWO was one of the coolest things that happened in wrestling. And just, just the nostalgia of the Hulkster. Huge following still. Number 3, I'm going to go with The Undertaker. Like you said, you were always freaked out by what he was going to do, and when the arena went black with the purple lights, and there he was in the middle of the ring. Such a cool character. Also, he had the American Badass character where he drove the motorcycle around the ring. Totally awesome. The deal where he would walk the top rope while holding the hand of his opponent in a lock, and just amazing. Number 2, Stone Cold Steve Austin. From his wrestling career to how he talked on the mic, to catching beers being thrown at 70 miles an hour, drinking 27 of them in a 5-minute period. Just the whole thing. I mean, he definitely took a character and ran with it to the point where when he comes out today, people still go absolutely insane. My number 1 all-time favorite wrestler of all time is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. 4 Horsemen, one of the coolest groups. Was Cold Chills right now. I mean, just his way he could talk on a microphone and talk to, call some girl fat in the front row and everybody be on his side about it, and just limousine riding, jet flying, just absolutely, just took America by storm, and he kept it there to the point where he ruined his life over it. I mean, he's on record. They're saying, "What do you want to be remembered for?" And the man said, "Not a husband or a father, but to be the best wrestler that ever lived." And like, that's so sad, but so awesome in the same time. Like, he literally lived his character to the point where he went broke. Like, went broke. And the guy was wrestling in some backyard in Nashville last year in his last match, and he couldn't even move. He's my favorite.
So Harb is giving his list. Big Montana's giving his. So I'm sure y'all listening that know me probably won't be too surprised by some of the names you hear on here, but I've actually got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 that haven't been mentioned yet. So my honorable mention, I'm going to go a little out there, Harbin. We lost Big Montana here, by the way. I'm going to go a little bit out there, like outside of the norm on this one, okay? So hear me out. My honorable mention is not a wrestler per se. One of them was, but this is a duo. Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. While not wrestlers, you could argue that they were two of the most defining people of the Attitude Era because of the way they announced and called the matches on TV. I mean, Jim Ross is obviously an icon and the voice of the WWE, WWF during the Attitude Era and on into the 2000s. He had some stints where he wasn't there because of health issues, and he left the company, came back. And then you got Jerry the King Lawler, who like I can't stop laughing every time when I watch those old 90s WWE shows when he does the and all that. I mean, he just kills me. Like, I love those. Actually, in all sports, they're two of my favorite announcers ever.
As God is my witness, he is
as
broken.
God is my witness, he is broken in half. I mean, I think I've read things before from that Hell in a Cell match where Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler both thought that Mick Foley was severely injured twice. And you hear him on the broadcast, like you hear Jim Ross say, "Guys, I'm serious. Get out here." Like, and then they'll say, "All right." You hear Jerry Lawler say, "All right, that's enough. Stop it." That was them like really saying like, this needs to stop. They were genuinely concerned. But I mean, some of the greatest calls that you go back and listen to, the Zamboni incident when Stone Cold comes into Joe Louis Arena. I mean, Jim Ross just like loses his mind. Jerry Lawler yells, "Get your guns out." Just all of the Attitude Era. Like, I mean, they are the voice of that era. So they were my honorable mention. One I didn't hear you two say, that's one of my favorites, and he's my fifth favorite on this list, is Kane, the Big Red Machine. When he came out in '97 to face his brother, The Undertaker, I thought that was so cool. And then he persisted and went on for 2 or 3 decades. He ended it, corporate Kane, the Big Red Monster. He had a bunch of different, different Kane personas that he went through over the years. But when you heard that organ hit and the fire come up out of the ring and on the stage, yeah, it was so awesome. Just so awesome. I got to see him in person in Knoxville a few years ago, I think in 2019, and he came out as the Monster Kane, not corporate Kane, but then Bray Wyatt took him out. Sad. Number 4 is a wrestler who actually his last match is taking place tonight, Sting. Sting pretty much, he lit the fire that was WCW in '97. The Hollywood Hogan versus Sting feud really put WCW on the map in the '90s. Now, Hulk Hogan ruined it because he took creative control and said he didn't want Sting to win the title that night. And it was at Starrcade '97. It was supposed to be a referee Mick Patrick was supposed to do a quick count. They changed it. Sting was supposed to win it outright, but then they changed it last minute because Hogan wanted it changed, and Bischoff changed it to a quick count. Well, the referee didn't quick count, and Sting didn't kick out. They both screwed it up. But Hogan's decision is what screwed it up. So it could have accelerated it even further than it was, but it didn't. But Sting is my number 4. I mean, him sitting in the rafters, Crow Sting. He went for, I think, 9 or 10 months, didn't say a word. He'd just come out and point his bat and just start hitting everybody. Sting versus the NWO, classic. Number 3, Y2J, Chris Jericho.
Whoa.
I think Chris Jericho is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. I honestly do. Just his skills on the mic, his in-ring skills. I know he's over in AEW now. And I think he's kind of winding down a little bit, but when AEW kicked off, he was the face of AEW there at the start, and they were hot because of it. I mean, they were challenging I don't want to say, up at that level of WWE, but they were giving them a little bit of a challenge there for a while, and he was a big part of that. But you look back, I mean, first undisputed champion. I'll never forget the first night he came out. I was watching it live, and back then you got to understand, we didn't have Twitter, all this other stuff. I had no clue Chris Jericho had left WCW and was coming to WWF. And he shows up one night, The Rock's in the ring, and this countdown for Y2K or Y2, or I guess the new millennium had been going on for weeks. And everybody's like, what is this? Got home from a baseball game one Monday night. And when Jericho is standing there like this at the ring, I went berserk. I could not believe Chris Jericho was on Raw is War. So awesome. Number 2, these two are going to be pretty obvious if you know me. The Rock, number 2, the People's Champion. He came out in about 96, 97 and just set the world on fire. I mean, he was great on the mic. He was great in the ring. He's my number 2 favorite of all time. But number 1, clear-cut favorite, greatest wrestler of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He saved the WWF. He lit the fire in WWF, kind of like Sting did in WCW. But I think he was bigger than Sting, from a personality standpoint and in ring. But his feud with Vince McMahon was the hottest thing on the planet in 1998. And to this day, one of the great rivalries in sports and entertainment. It was so, I think about it about every day, Harbin. I think about Austin versus McMahon about every day sometimes. And I think about Stone Cold Steve Austin stunning everybody all the time.
It was me, Austin.
It
was me all along.
So many great storylines in that McMahon Austin feud. I mean, it really kind of started in 97 when he stunned him at Madison Square Garden, but it really just kept going after that into 98 and even 99. 99 was that was when the greater power, like you just said, was revealed and all that. So that's my list. Harb and Big Montana shared theirs. We'll put them on the screen for you. So we'll try to figure out another top 5 to come up with for next week. But
I do want to share a couple that I feel like we missed.
Okay.
At least in my opinion. The first one, 1A being Triple H. Triple H was the man. And he had a very long reign. His stint with Evolution was phenomenal.
You could say he was in 2 Hall of Fame groups, and he's a Hall of Famer on his own at some point. He will be, but DX 100%. And Evolution.
100%. And that brings me to my next point, which is more for people my age, I think. But, man, in 2005, Batista was one of the hottest things on the planet. Like, when he gave the thumbs down to Triple H and ended up beating him at WrestleMania, like he was at an all-time hot, and he had probably like a 3 or 4 year stretch where a lot of people my age, that was their favorite wrestler, and for good reason. I almost said Eddie Guerrero. I love
that would be a good one,
especially as a kid, like the lie, cheat, steal thing when he would always hit somebody with a chair, then lay the chair on top of them and act like they hit him. Like, that was top tier. And then one more that I thought was Kurt Angle, just because he's probably the greatest in-ring wrestler of all time. And dude was severely underrated funny. Dude was so funny.
Have you ever seen when he first came out? Like when he first started coming out regularly, he was not good on the microphone. But over time, he turned into a completely different person on the microphone.
That skit where I forgot who he was talking to, but he said, "I'm a man and you're a boy, and I'm a man that loves to play with boys." And he's like, "Oh, no, I didn't mean to say that." And then he was just so good with that awkward stuff. But
him and Stone Cold had a good rivalry there in 2001, 2002, kind of after that invasion storyline went through. Because Austin went to him and said, they were in Pittsburgh and this was after 9/11, and he was like, "I want you to win the title tonight." And he ended up winning it back from him, but he gave Kurt that opportunity, and Kurt was like, "That put me on the map winning that night."
Yeah. You have any more honorable mentions?
Yeah, Chris Benoit. Yeah, what? What's wrong with Chris?
I mean, outside of the obvious?
I like Chris Benoit. He was great in the ring.
I mean, outside of the fact of him killing his child, his wife, and himself, yeah, he was great at
Oh,
his job.
shoot. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Some buddies of mine always have, they added lyrics to the Chris Benoit song. You know where it goes, dun 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 dun. They put in there, my name is Chris Benoit and I'm really mad.
Yeah, he, especially the last night of his life, he was really mad.
Big Montana and I were talking about this last night. Have you ever seen the Dark Side of the Ring, Chris Benoit edition? Do
Yeah.
not watch it at night in the dark. It is really creepy, to be honest. He and I both said it last night. It's just really weird because they show a lot of pictures from inside the house after he had killed everybody. After he'd killed his wife and his son. They don't show them, but they show like his desk sitting there and some other things within the house. And it's just like, man, it's so weird. And how everything went down that night. He was, I think, supposed to be in Texas. And Chavo Guerrero kept trying to call him and he wouldn't answer. And he got a weird phone call in the middle of the night from him telling him he loved him and all this weird stuff. It was very creepy. If I think it's on YouTube, go try to find it and watch it, but watch it in the daytime. It was I watched it at night one night when I was going to bed and I was like, man, this is really creepy.
One of the shittiest parts was the day after he died was Monday Night Raw, and they did a whole tribute show for him.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And then midway through the show, WWE found out exactly what happened, and they had to put Vince McMahon on TV in the middle of the show and be like, "We were unaware of what happened. We absolutely do not condone that." Like, it was like just extremely painfully awkward. I remember watching it
Yeah.
as a kid. It was extremely painfully awkward, and I was confused. And then Dad figured out what happened. He's like, "Yeah."
You know, one of the weirdest things that Vince McMahon and WWE ever did was fake Vince McMahon's death. Do you remember that one? When he got into the limo and it blew up on live TV. Obviously it was staged, but you know, they put out like right after the show, rest in peace, Mr. McMahon, and had his date of birth, date of death. And the explosion was so big that people like around that arena, I can't remember what arena it was in, like were like freaking out, like what in the world has happened? But they had to like basically come out and say, hey, this is just a storyline. He's not dead. Like Vince McMahon is not dead. But he gets in the limo, shuts the door, boom, the whole thing explodes. Rest in peace, Mr. McMahon, is what they put out on their website. It was
one more honorable mention, and this is solely for Brett Stanton, because this is truthfully hard that you and Montana didn't say him, is the excellence of execution, the Hitman Bret Hart.
See, I don't like Bret Hart.
Well, that's fine, but that's Brett's guy, so I had to throw that one out.
You know, I almost did put Mr. McMahon on here as a character, but I just felt like these four strictly wrestlers. But I mean, you could obviously like Mr. McMahon is his on-screen persona, but you could say it's real life too, with some of the stuff he went on with. But I think Bret Hart is a good wrestler. I just didn't like him. I don't know. There was something about him. I couldn't stand the way he talked. He was a heel when I started watching. I mean, him and the first big match I remember watching is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13. And when Stone Cold's busted wide open, and that turned Bret Hart into a heel and Austin into a babyface right there, because it was the other way around. But they had a huge rivalry there. But I don't know. There's something about I didn't like the way, and I know it wasn't totally his fault, how he left WWF. And then his stint in WCW was kind of lame. I don't know. There's just something about Bret Hart I didn't like. I don't know what it was. I can't put my finger on it.
He got the bad end of the deal at the end of his WWE run. But yeah, that WCW run was awful.
It was so bad. And that was when WCW was starting to decline anyways. But I don't know. There's something about him. I think it's because I hated the Hart when I first started watching. I hated the Hart Foundation. Like I couldn't stand him. I don't know why. I guess it's because I was a big Steve Austin fan, but I hated the Hart Foundation.
Because they were Canadian.
Well, that was when it was Canada versus, like, it was DX versus the Hart Foundation, Stone Cold versus the Hart Foundation. I think Nation of Domination came in there because DX tried to frame the Hart Foundation as racist toward Nation of Domination, and it was great. I mean, it was great, but I hated the Hart Foundation. I couldn't stand him. Rest in peace, Owen Hart. All right. Well, that's this week's show. Appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate Harb Big Montana coming on. Big week, Harb. SEC world title is on the line. Can Tennessee bring home the belt? The regular season belt.
Definitely can. I would love for us to get it solely. I don't want a co-champion banner. I don't want to share it with any of these inferior universities. Let's bring it home. This is not the ultimate crown. This is the first leg of the triple crown. So some would say. The end of March, early April is all I care about, truthfully. With that being said, being properly prepared, this title would fall in line with that. But yeah, big week for the Vols. We'll see what they can do in Columbia, and then on Senior Day, it's actually a big day. Senior Day for Vescovi and Triple J. Is there anybody else in the rotation that's senior?
Not that's a big contributor, no. I mean, unless you're talking about some of the maybe graduate assistant, grad student, but
Dalton Connect, obviously.
Well, Connect, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Forgot about him. But
Yeah,
that's only 3, though. I mean, you think Adu's back, Mashak's back, Ziegler's back next year. I don't think any of them are leaving and going anywhere. And then you got
is Gainey a grad transfer, or is he just a straight transfer?
He's a junior.
Okay.
So he's back. So you do lose a lot, but when you look at it from an offensive standpoint, you're just losing Connect. So I mean, but you're losing more than you think with Ziegler. We've said that on here. I mean, Ziegler and Vescovi bring so much other stuff to the table.
Also, one more thing, and I'll shut up and go to bed. Special shout out this past Friday. Good friend and listener of the show, Jake Minot, celebrated a birthday. So
that's right. Happy birthday, Jake.
Happy belated birthday, Mr. Minot. Thank you for listening. Thank you for putting up with our BS when we give it to you. Hope you enjoyed your special day.
Yeah, shout out Jake. He always listens to the show. I think sometimes I get a random NASCAR text from him every now and then. So he's one of the few people I know that watches NASCAR regularly. So shout out Jake Minot. Harbin, I forgot. We do have a question.
Oh, who's the question?
And that is a good question. I don't know. Let me look it up. I hate to keep prolonging the show here, but let's keep going. I always forget about this, but be sure if you have a question, concern, comment, please send them in to our Spotify. If you listen on Spotify, you can send them there. You can post it on Twitter or slide in our DMs or Facebook or send me a text. Send me and Harbin a text or Big Montana. But this one's from Blake Talley. He comments frequently. He says, this is going back to our Toby Keith tribute last week. The fact that Red Solo Cup wasn't even brought up tells me y'all prefer drinking from a glass. Maybe I like a good frosted mug, Tally. What's it to you?
First of all, Red Solo Cup was brought up.
It was brought up by you.
It just did not make any of our top 5s. It's a good song. It's a good little fun song. But in my opinion, and clearly in Mr. Neese and Mr. Bowling's opinion, it's not in our personal top 5. And that's the great thing about opinions. Everybody has one. So, Mr. Talley, that song can be in your top 5, and I will not judge you for that.
It can be in your top 5. It's just not in ours, right?
Correct. Yeah. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and most of them stink.
It's true.
So.
Well, yes, please send in comments, questions. You can actually comment on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, which apparently no one is watching anymore for some reason. Yeah, viewership has plummeted on our YouTube channel. Not sure why, but anyways,
because we're ugly.
True. Nobody wants to see our faces, do they?
We have faces for radio.
So speaking of, you can go on our YouTube channel, smash that like and subscribe, as the kids say. I guess right over here somewhere. If you're watching, or no, probably right here. Sorry, I'm backwards. But hit that like and subscribe button. We have gained some subscribers, so that's good. But you can, if you want to listen to the audio version while you're traveling or at work or whatever, you can find us on any major platform, Spotify, Apple, any of those that you want to find those on. But appreciate you guys listening. Harbin and I will be eagerly watching Wednesday night, and Tennessee bring home the SEC title Wednesday night. Can they beat the Wildcats Saturday?
What time is that game on Wednesday?
7:00 on Wednesday night at Colonial Life, and then Saturday 4:00, an afternoon game at TBA on CBS. Second game on CBS this year. We played Illinois earlier in the year on CBS. So get ready. CBS, last game of the season. And then we're on ESPN for the SEC tournament, and it's all CBS for the rest of the way. You get to hear some of the greatest sports music ever. That NCAA tournament theme I love it. But all right, guys, it's late. Harbin and we're almost burning the midnight oil recording this, so we're gonna get out of here. Appreciate everybody listening, and we'll see you guys hopefully next week as SEC champions here on the Section YY8 podcast.